Right to work protects your right to work, right? Just not your right to higher wages and not your right to a stronger bargaining power. And definitely not your right to require everyone who benefits from a union contract to help pay for it. And if that sounds backwards, it should. Because in states with right to work laws, wages are lower on average. So what exactly is it protecting? Today we're talking about Kentucky's right to work law and the effort right now to repeal it. And if this matters to you, like it, share it, follow it, subscribe to it, whatever else you're supposed to do. That's how this stuff reaches people. It's Labor Lines, let's get after it. This is where I get after it. 2 Kentucky lawmakers have filed bills in the House and Senate to repeal the state's right to work law. The law's been on the books since 2017. But before we argue about its repeal, let's answer one simple question. What exactly is right to work? Because I really don't think a lot of people understand it that well. First, it doesn't guarantee you a job, and it doesn't create any kind of employment, and it doesn't force companies to hire anyone. What it does is prohibit union contracts from requiring all represented workers to pay dues or fees. That's it. It doesn't force anyone to join a union, and it doesn't force any business to become signatory with a union. It is aimed at unions, period. Now, let's make that real. Think about Costco. You pay a membership fee so that you can get access to the discounts, the bulk pricing, the delicious rotisserie chicken that used to be $5. Now imagine a rule that says anyone can walk in, fill their cart, grab a hot dog, but they don't have to buy a membership. How long does that last? How long do you get those discounts? That's right to work. In a union workplace, the union is legally required to represent every worker under the contract. So things like wages, grievances, safety standards, enforcement. Under right to work, workers can receive those benefits without contributing to maintain the organization. And over time, that's intended to weaken unions. Now let's talk about history. Right to work laws spread across southern states in the mid-20th century. Labor historians have documented how early versions were pushed during the Civil Rights era, often in opposition to integrated unions because, of course. The history is a bit complicated, but the outcome isn't. These laws weaken unions. Now here's the context people forget. Right to work didn't happen alone. In 2017, the same legislature passed right to work and repealed Kentucky's prevailing wage law, House Bill 1 and 3, 2 of the first major labor bills that session. That was the first Republican majority legislature in nearly 100 years. And the first and third bills they moved targeted wage standards and union strength. That's not a coincidence. That's a priority. Prevailing wage required contractors on public projects to pay wages set to local standards. And Kentucky's standards were stronger than most other southern states. When it was repealed, labor groups warned wages on public projects would fall. And guess what? They did. So you can't look at right to work by itself. One law weakened union funding, the other removed wage standards. That's direction, that's policy, and it's a governing philosophy. Supporters say right to work attracts business and increases freedom. But here's what gets left out. Even in states without right to work, no one is required to join a union, and no business is required to become union. Those decisions are 100% voluntary. So let's look at the data. The Economic Policy Institute compared wages in right-to-work states and non-right-to-work states. Wages in right-to-work states are about 3.1% lower on average, even after adjusting for cost of living. When union wages weaken, wage floor drops. And that's not rhetoric, that's labor economics. Look at Michigan. Michigan passed right to work in 2012. In 2023, they repealed it. Lawmakers concluded weakening unions didn't deliver the economic boost they were promised. Repealing right to work would not force anyone to join a union. It would simply allow contracts to require that everyone who benefits from contributing to maintaining representation. Right to work weakens collective bargaining. Weakened bargaining lowers wages. Lower wages hit entire communities. Now Kentucky has a choice. Prevailing wage was repealed, right to work was passed. How much more leverage are working people supposed to give up? Because whether you like it or not, issues like these affect every working class person in this state. Union, non-union, prevailing wage used to be a solid paycheck on state projects, but it's not anymore. Repealing it costs non-union workers an estimated 10% drop in income on state projects, and loss of benefits like health coverage and retirement accounts. Remember, the 8-hour workday didn't fall from the sky. Prevailing wage didn't just appear. Safety standards, they weren't gifts. Workers fought for them. Unions demanded them. The working class builds this country. We build the roads, the schools, the infrastructure that makes the economy run. And it's time lawmakers remember that. So call your state representative, call your state senator, don't ask, demand. Tell them to repeal right to work. Tell them to start the language to reinstate prevailing wage. Because policies don't just shape budgets, they shape paychecks. This is Labor Lines with Alex. As always, be safe, be productive, be well.